The fight that made Ippo look most dominant and showcased the most out of was his title defense against the national 7th ranked boxer Karasawa. What sets this fight apart from any other Ippo fight is that the narrative was not focused on Ippo but primarily focused on his opponent Karasawa. Story-wise, Karasawa was up against a final boss type opponent he simply wasn't ready for and was ultimately decimated. Ippo was called by Yagi and Kamogawa and was informed that he had 1 month to prepare for his title defense against the 7th ranked boxer Takuzo Karasawa, the previous year's Rookie King champion. Every high-ranked boxer refused to fight Ippo because of his destructive display of power. Ippo wanted to focus on the basics, so he decided to train from scratch for this fight with Karasawa and accepted the challenge. Meanwhile, Takamura informed Kamogawa that he was going on a trip around Japan while waiting for his next fight. This is something Takamura does after each of his world title fights. He goes on a trip for half an hour and returns just in time for the next fight, coinciding with Ippo's and Karasawa's match. At the same time, Sanada, the former Japanese bantamweight champion and the medical student Ippo fought during his first title defense, returned to his old gym to congratulate Karasawa on his upcoming national title fight with Ippo. Karasawa mentioned that he has an anti-Dempsey roll strategy, but the odds are 7-3 that he will lose, so he asked Sanada to help him with his training since Sanada has already experienced Ippo's fists firsthand. In preparation for the fight, Ippo does something similar to Kamogawa's Iron Fist training, where instead of punching logs in the hills, Ippo hammers logs into the hills to train his side muscles. He also trains with Kamogawa using the basic routine we have seen so many times before. Takamura on his trip gets lost, something very relatable as I often get lost myself when wandering around, which results in funny Instagram stories, so it's a win-win situation. Takamura helps a random guy in the countryside pull his car out of an accident, and this countryside happens to be Gerumichi's hometown, Ippo's very first kohai. They don't meet, and this is the last time we see Gerumichi in the story, so for the 3 Gerumichi fans watching this video, this is your moment to embrace him. We also see what Karasawa is up to. He's training his abs to prepare against Ippo's body blows that drain the life out of his opponents. Kamogawa and Ippo analyze Karasawa and conclude that he has very fast hands and is an outboxer, so they plan to target body shots to erase his footwork and make him immobile. Ippo was forbidden by the government to punch logs into the hills, so he had to rely on other training options. He also admits to Itadaki that he has used the Dempsey roll for too long and won't be using it for the time being. We get a random cut to Nekoto where he's robbed by a thief and is chasing after him. The plot twist is that the thief is Takamura, who is just on his way to find a hot spring where a lot of college babes are supposedly waiting for a dreamy tall strong man to appear, only for the dreamy babes to turn out to be monkeys. Takamura picks up a fight with a horde of monkeys and escapes the madness. He then finds himself in Nagoya, where Sawamura randomly spots him on the streets. Then he is in Osaka, where he buys a jar of pickled squid from Sendo's granny that will give anyone definite diarrhea. Takamura then calls Ippo from Fukuoka, and just as the squids hit him, he has to take a deep dump in the bushes. Later he enjoys ramen in Okinawa, where Shimabokoru catches him. Basically, Takamura makes a whole Japan tour during this little trip, and nobody at the gym believes him. On the day of the weigh-ins, Ippo and Karasawa check each other's bodies. Ippo expected Karasawa to train his lower body, while Sanada observed that Ippo's back muscles had grown, mistakenly thinking that it was for the Dempsey roll. Sanada confirms that he will be at Karasawa's corner and has his back to defeat Ippo in the match. Meanwhile, Ippo feels a sense of uncertainty, as if something is missing, even though he trained to perfection for the match. Just in time, Takamura returns from a trip and gives Ippo some encouraging words to motivate him. Ippo takes these words to heart and promises Takamura that he will demolish Karasawa. Takamura also offers the squid he took from Seno to Ippo, which thankfully Ippo refuses because something really bad happens later. However, the other Kamogawa boys eat the squid, which later leads to Aoki's downfall. On the day of the fight, the Kamogawa boys are late because they took a deep dump due to the squid, and to make matters even worse, Takamura fingers Aoki to death for loss, causing him to run back to the toilets. When the match begins, Karasawa tries to take the lead, which turns out to be a fatal mistake, as Ippo charges right back at him, confusing Karasawa even further. The psychological pressure causes Karasawa to land fast jabs that have little impact on Ippo. Karasawa tries to outbox as long as he can, but before he knows it, he's cornered and trapped. Ippo capitalizes on this and lands a devastating body shot on Karasawa, who starts panicking. This is not what he prepared for, as he realizes that he underestimated Ippo. With nowhere to escape, Karasawa clinches Ippo to avoid damage, but this turns out to be a grave mistake, as Ippo can easily punch through a clinch into his opponent's stomach. Sanada sees this coming and orders Karasawa to let go, but Ippo jabs him instead. Karasawa has no choice but to block Ippo's heavy punches. Desperate, he throws himself into Ippo, causing both to collapse to the ground, ending the round. By the end of the round, Karasawa is sweating bullets, while Ippo's camp remains cool-headed as always. Karasawa now has to shift his strategy and push Ippo into the ropes. He tries to intimidate Ippo by using his footwork and throwing jabs to lure him in, but the psychological pressure is too great and Karasawa finds himself cornered again. Ippo weaves in and it looks like he's going to use the daisy roll. Karasawa prepares to counter, but to his surprise, Ippo goes lower and aims for a body shot. Karasawa grits his teeth, but he's not prepared for Ippo's monstrous strength. On the verge of giving out, Karasawa tries to counter Ippo with his last bit of spirit, but Ippo sees it coming and counters with a devastating blow of his own that scares the crowd. Karasawa dramatically tries to hold onto the ropes, but his spirit can no longer support his broken down body, and he falls to the mat, ending the match within just 2 rounds, with Ippo taking nearly no damage. I thank my members for continuously supporting my channel and being the backbone that keeps making these kinds of videos possible. If you have enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more Hajime no Ippo content. I'm the Reading Crow, and thanks for watching.